This year marks the 75th anniversary of the victory of the World Anti-Fascist War and also the 75th anniversary of the foundation of UN. Yesterday, UN has solemnly organized a high-level meeting for commemoration in order to remember the lessons and experience from that World Anti-Fascist War and reaffirm our solemn pledge to the purposes and principles of the UN Charter, which is of great significance. Mr. President, mankind is fighting against the COVID-19 pandemic. The virus is still raging across the globe with recrudescence of the pandemic. We have witnessed the efforts of the governments, the dedication of the medics, the exploration of the scientific personnel, and the perseverance of ordinary people. The people of all countries have stood together, showcasing the courage, determination, and care in front of the major catastrophes, lighting up the darkest moments. The pandemic will finally be defeated by mankind, and victory belongs to the people of the world. Facing the pandemic, we have to put people and life first. We have to mobilize all resources, carry out prevention and control that is based on sciences. With targeted policies, we will not leave out one single infected or abandon one single patient in order to curb the spread of the virus and the pandemic. Facing the pandemic, we have to stay united and pull over through hard times. We have to uphold the scientific spirit and bring into full play the critical role played by the WHO. And we have to jointly carry out prevention and control at international level, win the global battle against the pandemic, and oppose any politicization or stigmatization. Facing the pandemic, we should elaborate overall and regular measures for prevention and control, and in an orderly manner resume the business market, work and schools, create more jobs, and boost the economy, restore the order and vitality of the economy and the society. Major economies should also coordinate their macro policies, not only to boost their own economy, but to contribute to the world's economic recovery. Facing the pandemic, we should care more the developing countries, especially African countries. International society should adopt timely and more powerful measures to reduce the debt and carry out assistance, so that we could better apply the UN 2030 agenda of the SDGs and help the countries to tide over the difficulties. 75 years ago, China has contributed to the victory of the World Anti-Fascist War, and we have supported the foundation of UN. Today, with the same spirit of responsibility, China is fully devoted to the international collaboration against the pandemic, and we have contributed our own power to the safeguarding of the global public health system. We will continue to share with all countries the anti-pandemic experience and technologies for diagnosis and treatment, give support and assistance to countries in need, make sure that the supply chain for materials against the pandemic is stable, and we will actively participate in the global scientific researches for the origin tracing and transmission routes of the virus. Multiple vaccines of China have entered the Phase 3 clinical trial. After development and deployment, they will be made a global public good with priority access offered first to developing countries. And China will also fulfill its promise to give $2 billion as international assistance to deepen international collaboration in areas like agriculture, poverty alleviation, education, women, children, climate change, to assist the recovery of the world's socio-economic development. Mr. President, the history of the mankind society is one of repeated efforts to overcome all sorts of challenges and difficulties. Today, the pandemic of COVID-19 and profound shifts unseen in a century in our world are interacting. But the theme of the times, peace and development, remain unchanged, and people of the world have stronger aspiration for peace, development, cooperation, and win-win. COVID-19 pandemic will not be the very last crisis in front of the humankind. We have to join our hands and be prepared for more global challenges. First, the pandemic shows to us that we live in an interconnected and interdependent global village. All countries are closely connected with the shared destiny of mankind. No country should seek benefits or profit from other countries' problems or acquire stability from other countries' turbulences. If we use the beggar thy neighbor policy and watch from a safe distance and sit idle, then the other country's threats will become our challenges one day. We have to adopt the mindset of community of shared future for mankind with our interests intertwined. Abandon the mindset of clique and zero-sum game. We have to adopt the big family idea for cooperation and win-win, abandon ideological disagreements, and skip the track of clash of civilizations. We should respect all countries' choices in their own development road and model, so that the diversity of the world could become an endless engine for the human society progress and become a natural form of colorful civilizations. Second, the pandemic shows us that economic globalization is a fact and a trend of the history. Facing that trend, if we act like the ostrich burying the head in the sand and try to ignore, or like Don Quixote waving the spear to resist it, that will be against the rule of the history. The world will never step back to the status being closed and isolated, let alone be artificially fragmented. We should not avoid challenges brought by the economic globalization. Instead, we should look directly at the gap of wealth and of development. We should handle the relationships between the government and the market, equity and efficiency, growth and distribution, technologies and employment, so that development could be balanced and thorough. The results of development could benefit all people from all classes at all different countries. We should also build up an open world economy while adopting the mindset marked by openness and inclusiveness. We have to protect the multilateral trading system with WTO at its core and oppose unilateralism, protectionism to make sure that the supply chain and industrial chain will stay stable and obstacle-free. Third, the pandemic shows us that mankind needs a self-reforming. We have to form quickly a green way of development and of life and build the ecological civilization and a beautiful earth. Mankind should no longer ignore the repeated warnings of the nature and follow the old path in which we only take without investment, only develop without protection, only explore without restoration. The Paris Agreement against the climate change shows us the big direction for the green and low-carbon transition and marks the minimum action needed for the protection of the earth. Every country should make a decisive step forward. China will raise the intended nationally determined contribution and adopt more powerful policies and measures. We will reach the peaking of CO2 emission before 2030 and reach carbon neutrality before 2060. All countries should seize the historical opportunities of new rounds of scientific renovation, revolution and industrial renovation, and adopt new concepts of development marked by innovation, coordination, greenness, openness, and sharing, so that together we could promote the green recovery of the post-pandemic world economy and forge a very strong synergy for sustainable development. Fourth, the pandemic tells us that the global governance system requires reform and improvement. The pandemic is not only a big exam for the governing capacity of all countries, but also a test for the global governance system. We should follow the path of multilateralism, protect the international system with UN at its core. The global governance should uphold the principle of extensive consultation, joint contribution, and shared benefits, promote the equality of rights, opportunities, and rules of all countries. This will make our global governance system better suit the changing world politics and economy, and respond to the requirements for confronting global challenges and follow the trend of history marked by peace, development, cooperation, and win-win. It's normal for countries to have differences. We should resort to dialogues and negotiations to properly handle that. It's okay for countries to have competition, but that should be proactive and healthy, and also respect morality and international standards. Major countries should show their posture and offer more global public goods and shoulder the responsibility. Mr. President, since this year, Chinese people, 1.4 billion people, have braved the difficulties and stayed united to overcome the negative impacts of the pandemic. We have accelerated the recovery of the order of production and life. We have the confidence to realize the goal of building a moderately prosperous society at all aspects, and also lift all rural poor population out of poverty under current standards as scheduled. And we could realize the poverty reduction goal of the UN 2030 agenda of SDGs 10 years earlier. China is the largest developing country of the world. We take the path of peaceful development, open development, collaborative development, and shared development. We will never seek hegemony or extension, let alone the sphere of influence. We have no intention to enter into war or Cold War with any country. We always would like to use dialogue to settle disagreements and with negotiation to settle differences. We don't want to prosper alone, and we don't want to carry out a knockout match. We will not close the doors. We will foster instead a new dual-cycle development architecture at home, with the domestic and international development reinforcing each other, creating new spaces for Chinese economic development and contributing to the world's economic recovery and growth. China will continue to contribute to the world's peace and world development, as well as the international order. In order to better assist the role played by UN in international affairs, I'd like to declare that China will offer another $50 million to UN's COVID-19 Global Humanitarian Response Plan. China will set the third session FAO China South-South Cooperation Trust Fund with $50 million, and China UN Peace and Development Fund will be extended for another 5 years after the expiration by 2025. China will set up the UN Global Center for Geographic Information Knowledge and Innovation, as well as the Center of International Researches on Big Data for Sustainable Development, contributing our part to the realization of the UN 2030 Agenda for SDGs. Mr. President, dear colleagues, the relay baton of the history is in the hands of our generation. We should make choices that will not let the people or the history down. Let us stay united and uphold the common values of the whole humankind, characterized by peace, development, equity, justice, democracy, and freedom. Promote the development of a new type of international relations, build the community of shared future for mankind, and create a better future for our world.